and today I'm covering 5 tricks cops use during traffic stops and exactly how you can stop cops from using these tricks against you. Because when it comes to dealing with the police, what you say and sometimes what you don't say can make all the difference. So let's dive in. Trick number 1. Cops will bait you into small talk, or they will bait you with them giving you a bad attitude. Now, we all know that we're required to have a valid driver's license and insurance in order to drive our cars. So it's a good idea to make sure and have that ready to display to the officers. But when the officer walks up to your window, do you have to actually roll it down? Technically, you are not per se required to roll your window all the way down during a traffic stop. The problem is, if you don't roll it at least somewhat down, police officers have a tendency to now claim that based upon your attitude and your behavior, they are now in fear for their officer safety. They will now use that as an excuse to get you out of the car and perform a pat-down search. How can cops get away with this? Well, technically, they are allowed to do this under the Supreme Court case known as Pennsylvania versus Mims. But how exactly do cops trick you with small talk? You've got to understand, police officers are trained to ask you simple questions that seem innocent. Well, where are you headed? Where you come from? What have you been up to tonight? This is classic small talk. You know as well as I do, cops don't care where you've been or where you're going. So why ask? They are trained specifically to get you to start talking so that they can use anything you say or maybe even don't say as a pretext to get you out of the car and search you, detain you, maybe even arrest you. Whether you realize it or not, the moment police officers start asking you questions, you are actually being investigated, and anything you say can and will be used against you. Now, this may seem just like small talk to you, but it's important that you realize at this stage during a traffic stop, the police are not required to read you your Miranda rights. Many people are shocked to learn that. Now, we all know that we have a right to remain silent. This is many times referred to as our Miranda rights. The problem is, police officers are not required to read us our Miranda rights right there on the side of the road during a traffic stop unless 2 requirements are met. Number 1, we must be in custody, meaning not free to leave. Okay, we must be detained. And then secondly, we must also be actively interrogated by the police, which is precisely why you should never open your mouth during a police encounter. Now, here's why small talk is so dangerous. Small talk almost always leads to police officers asking you very direct questions that require a yes or no answer. During that's what we call interrogation. When they do this, your small hesitations about exactly what to say when the officer starts to interrogate you can now actually be used against you as a sign of guilt in court. For example, admitting to almost anything, even if it's not illegal, could end up getting you arrested. Here's a great example. Let's say an officer asks you where you've come from, and you say you were just out with your friends and you were at the restaurant. And let's say he asks you, okay, what were y'all doing? Y'all just socializing, having something to drink? And let's say you admit you had a single drink with your dinner. It's almost a 100% chance the moment you admit to having had anything at all to drink, that will be used as a basis to investigate you for DWI and potentially either cite you or arrest you for the offense of driving while intoxicated. Now, what if cops bait you or trick you by giving an aggressive attitude in your direction? You have to understand that this is a tactic, a trick used by the police. I've seen officers do this when they don't like someone, and they do it trying to get a rise out of the person driving. So let's say you're driving and you don't like the attitude from the officer. He's doing it specifically hoping you will respond with a bad attitude. Be careful here. Do all that you can to resist the temptation to respond with anger or frustration. If you respond, raising your voice or doing anything that might come across as aggressive, the officer will use this as a pretext to claim now that his officer's safety is at risk. He'll get you out of the car to search you, detain you, or maybe even worse. So how do you stop cops from using this trick against you? Number 1, don't fall for the small talk trap. Exercise your right to remain silent. Then number 2, don't let cops trigger you by giving you an aggressive attitude. Do all that you can to resist the temptation of responding back with anger. Trick number 2, cops will then try to use your silence against you. This is a classic trick that cops use. Let's say officers start asking you specific questions and you just decide you're going to say nothing. Amazingly, police will then use your lack of cooperation against you and take your silence and attempt to use it against you in court as a sign of your guilt. Now, I'm going to be frank with you. This makes no sense. We all know that we have a right to remain silent in the face of police questioning. The problem? In the cases of Salinas versus Texas and Burgess versus Tompkins, the Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, decided that your right to remain silent means nothing unless you first break your right to remain silent and then open your mouth and unequivocally say, "I exercise my right to remain silent." This is truly a trick and a Fifth Amendment loophole cops will use against you. So how do you stop cops from using this trick against you if you want to remain silent on the side of the road? You must first invoke your right to remain silent by opening your mouth and saying, "Officer, I exercise my right to remain silent." Then don't say another word. Otherwise, your silence will be used as a weapon against you in court by the police. Trick number 3, cops will use your movements in the car against you if you're not careful. So if we're careful about what we say and we protect our silence from being used against us, what about our movements in the car? Now, this is a dangerous situation because if, let's say, the main officer, the primary officer, is walking up to you on the driver's side, and then there's also an assist officer circling back around over to the passenger side, and they're looking through the windows. If they see you reach over to the center console or maybe over to the glove box trying to grab something, get ready for things to get very tense and they're going to draw down on you. At a minimum, the cops will guaranteed they will force you out of your car and they will perform a search on you in the name of officer safety. So how do we protect ourselves and stop cops from using our movements in the car against us? Number 1, do not keep your insurance or other documents in the center console or in your glove box. Number 2, always keep your hands on the steering wheel the entire time the officers are talking to you at your window. Number 3, never make any quick movements in one direction or another, or have a sudden change in your demeanor or attitude. If so, cops will use this as a pretext now, where they're going to claim that they are in fear of their officer's safety. They will get you out of the car, escalate the situation, and perform a search. Finally, number 4, if you must reach for your ID or your driver's license in your wallet, or you have to reach over to grab documents from some other place in your car, make sure you first ask. Tell the officer what you're going to do before you do it and move very slowly in the process. Otherwise, and I've seen this happen so many times, otherwise the police will not give you the benefit of the doubt. And this can turn into a very tense situation, maybe even a tragic one. Trick number 4. Cops will try to make you believe that you should just let them search you if you've done nothing wrong. Let's be clear. You have an absolute right to refuse your consent to search your vehicle when dealing with the police. Now, if you do refuse consent to search your vehicle, get ready for the police to demand that you step out of the car. Now, I touched on this briefly, but police are allowed to get you out of the car to perform that search under the Supreme Court case of Pennsylvania versus Mims. Under Mims, police are allowed to get you out of the car if they can, quote, provide specific articulable facts establishing you placed their, quote, officer safety at risk. Now, this sounds like cops should be required to provide a substantial amount of evidence to claim that their safety is at risk in order to search you. In reality, that's just not the case. Most courts have allowed almost any reason for police to search you in the name of officer safety. Now, if they get you out of the car, be very careful with anything that you say or do on your way out of the car. One example of this, let's say you're getting out of your car, and as you step out of the car, they grab at you and try to pull you back towards the back of the car, and you get kind of offended by that, so you pull back. I've seen officers use that response as a basis to now arrest you, claiming you're either resisting arrest or detention. Now it allows them to arrest you and now perform a search incident to arrest. Also, be very careful brushing up against the officers or having any direct contact with them, because if the officer already has a negative attitude in your direction, you brushing up against them or accidentally bumping into them could be a basis for them to claim that you had committed some type of crime, like attempting to assault a public servant. My point, be careful when the officers get close to you. You will never be given the benefit of the doubt if there's any contact between you and that officer. Now, once you're out of the car and standing there on the side of the road, this is a great time to tell that officer you exercise your right to remain silent and would only be happy to answer questions from the officer with your lawyer present, which is your right under the Sixth Amendment. We've been covering how to stop cops from tricking you during a traffic stop, but did you know that con artists and hackers are trying to snoop on you? I was hacked and I know how this feels firsthand. Hackers are sending very sophisticated emails to your inbox and calling you, trying to bait you into phishing scams to gain your personal and financial information. Marketers and hackers are tricky. They find ways to buy my data and my contact information from campaigns I've signed up for in the past. The reality of it is it's impossible to live in this digital age without sharing information with companies. Whether it's signing up on websites or making trusted purchases online, you can never know for sure if your purchases are safe and secure because even trusted companies send out notices all the time informing you your data was compromised because they were hacked. To make sure you are not victimized, this is where Incogni steps in. They are one of the best in the business at doing one thing: monitoring and removing your name from those lists. They work tirelessly to remove your information from these marketing lists, and they ensure it gets done if that company refuses to comply. I wish I had learned about Incogni to protect my privacy and my information online. I made that mistake once and will never make it again. So that's why Incogni has a special offer for all of us. The special link attached here and in the description below provides you a huge 60% discount, and I can personally vouch this is worth looking into and investing in. Check out the link below and take advantage of this great offer. Now, let's check out the next trick cops will use against you during a traffic stop and how you can stop them. Now be aware, cops may try to trick you here by claiming you don't have a right to a lawyer during a traffic stop. That is absolutely not true. You always have a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and a Sixth Amendment right to counsel. So don't fall for this police trick where they try to make you feel like you don't have a right to a lawyer during this part of the traffic stop. So once you're out of the car and you're standing there on the side of the car, this is the place where the police will ask for your consent to search your car. So what exactly are your options? Number one, you could just consent to the search. Now, I would never do this. But if you think you have nothing to worry about, this is a possible option. But beware, the moment you give consent, you consented to much more than a search. You consented to being on the side of the road for as long as they want to literally, and I mean this, tear apart your car to search for anything they want because you told them they could. Now look, there is a maxim under the law known as consent cures all. And I know some people don't understand this, but I have seen police officers literally rip apart the insides of a car, and after they didn't find anything, they just left everything sitting all over the ground for the owner to have to put it all back together. The moment they start searching, things can be twisted and manipulated, and they can take as long as they want there on the side of the road, all because you said yes. The point I'm making is you don't get extra credit for giving consent to search to the police. If anything, you are penalized because cops are counting on you to be naive and to believe that you have nothing to worry about and nothing to lose by giving consent to a search. Your consent not only allows them to tear apart the inside of your car, but it also gives them the ability to take whatever they find, even the things you didn't know about inside your car, and build a case against you. So what's your other option? Well, number two, you could refuse consent to search. And by doing this, you put the pressure back on the police to establish what's known as the motor vehicle exception to the search warrant requirement. What is this? To search your car, cops must either have your consent, which we now know we will never do, see something in plain view just sitting out in your car, or number three, they must meet all the requirements of the motor vehicle exception to a search warrant. The motor vehicle exception was first created by the United States Supreme Court in the 1925 case of Carroll versus United States. In order to search your car under the motor vehicle exception, the police must meet all four of the following requirements. Number one, probable cause. Now look, the cops don't have to prove with absolute certainty that there's evidence in the car, but they must have some level of proof here, a minimal level of proof to establish some type of criminal activity is taking place. The problem is that's why cops try to bait you with the small talk or the aggressive attitude, because if they can get you out of the car under officer safety, it makes it easier for them to establish probable cause. So remember, the more you talk, the more you interact with those police, the easier it is for them to meet number one requirement, probable cause. Number two, the vehicle must not be on the curtilage of your property. Now, as a quick reminder, what is the curtilage of your property? Well, it's the area immediately surrounding the inside of your home. So like your front porch, maybe your carport area, maybe around your backyard area. If you are parking your car there, that becomes a problem for the police to be able to meet the motor vehicle exception. So if cops did pull you over and you were on the curtilage of your property, the only way they could actually search the inside of your vehicle now is that, number one, they'd have to have a valid search warrant, or they'd have to have your consent, which you're never going to give them, or they must have what's called exigent circumstances. Exigent circumstances would have to be some type of emergency situation that would say evidence is about to be lost or destroyed, or that you somehow were about to drive away in the car. Number three, the vehicle must appear that it can run and drive. The Supreme Court used some terminology. They said that the vehicle must be apparently mobile. The court used that language because the cops only have to prove that it appeared capable of driving, not that it actually could operate and drive. Finally, number four, cops must search in a manner that would only be allowed under a valid warrant. In other words, whatever the cops claim they had probable cause to search for, they are only allowed to look in places where that item could be reasonably located. For example, if cops claimed that they had probable cause to look for something illegal in luggage, let's say they're looking for luggage in the car, they couldn't then go digging through the center console of the car because luggage can't fit in the center console. In other words, cops can't just go looking in any nook and crevice within the car if the thing they claim they are looking for couldn't fit there. Now, what if cops don't have probable cause under the motor vehicle exception? Are there any other tricks that cops can use to still be able to get inside your car and perform the search? That brings us to our next trick. Trick number 5. Cops may threaten that they will go get a drug dog and make you sit on the side of the road unless you consent to a search. Beware here. This threat by the police is nothing more than a trick. Why? Because under the Supreme Court case of Rodriguez versus United States, the Supreme Court said, and I quote, "Unless police have reasonable suspicion of a crime, it is an unconstitutional seizure for them to extend the traffic stop in order to conduct a dog sniff." The court went on to say that dog sniffs at traffic stops are considered searches within the Fourth Amendment that require probable cause, and police cannot use a drug dog to obtain that probable cause unless they already had reasonable suspicion. And here is a very important key point to remember here. If a police officer has already written you a citation or a ticket as a basis for that traffic stop, their authority ends at the moment they hand you that ticket. So what if it takes the cops 2 or 3 hours to get the drug dog out to your car to perform this search? In that situation, the Supreme Court has said that is an unreasonable amount of time to be held on the side of the road because they only had the authority to hold you there to write you a ticket. So that would now be an illegal search, a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, but only if you refused consent to search. Now, some of you may be thinking, I'm not worried about this. I don't have anything in my car. And if they want to run a drug dog around my car, I have no problem with it. I just want to warn you, drug dogs are notoriously unreliable. Now, the amazing thing is drug dogs don't really have to be trained for the substances that they're searching for. In fact, in Florida versus Harris, the Supreme Court said that even if a drug dog is not trained on a substance that they alert for, that the police can still use this as probable cause, and it does not negate the drug dog's reliability in court. The harsh reality is that drug dogs are just not all that accurate. In fact, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals has admitted evidence against people for crimes where drug dog reliability has been as low as 43%. Now, I don't know about you, but giving consent to a drug dog search is nothing more than an open invitation for a dog to scratch up my paint job and to get inside my car and tear up the inside of my car for no reason. So how do you stop cops from holding you on the side of the road for a drug dog search? First, record the entire encounter with the police during the traffic stop. Number 2, do not consent to the search no matter what the police say. Number 3, ask repeatedly if you are free to leave the scene. If police say that you are not free to leave, you are now establishing proof positive that you are in custody, you are being detained, and you are not free to go. And it makes it that much easier for your attorney later to bring a cause of action showing that your Fourth Amendment rights were being violated. And if they attempt to try to perform a search on you, anything they find could be potentially thrown out in court. Finally, remain calm. Don't give the cops any reason to try to aggravate the situation further and to further limit your constitutional rights. But what if you do everything right during this police encounter and cops arrest you anyway? Whatever you do, don't run and don't resist. These are the 2 worst things you could possibly do. Cops may have a very difficult time bringing an actual criminal charge against you once you've been arrested. But the moment you resist or you try to flee the scene, you make it very easy for the cops to be able to bring a charge against you that will stick, all because there was an emotionally charged situation and you panicked. By resisting or thinking you can talk your way out of the arrest, you're playing right into the trap that the cop has laid for you for them to be able to detain, search, and ultimately arrest you and bring a criminal charge against you. Remember, the number 1 goal during a traffic stop is to end the encounter and drive away safely. Now, we just covered the 5 tips to stop cops from tricking you during a traffic stop. But what if instead of a traffic stop, the cops pulled you over to check to see if you had a gun? Check out this next video where I break down how to stop cops from checking your gun during a traffic stop. See you over there.